right, guys, welcome back to Of Stone and Clay, episode 95. We have a dear friend with us today, our sweetest Ysabelle Cuevas. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We've wanted to have you on the show for many moons.
Many moons indeed.
And today is the moon.
So sorry, I've been under a rock. I mean, I've been avoiding the moon
Okay.
altogether.
Okay. You've been under one rock, avoiding another rock.
Yes.
Okay.
But I've loved your content and I've loved all of my friends you've had on here.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, what am I waiting for?
Awesome. So Ysabelle, if you don't know, Ysabelle is a recording artist. You've done a lot of your stuff in the Philippines, and you even signed with a Philippine record company, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now you're kind of doing your own indie thing here. Yeah, tell me a little bit. I want to kind of go way past just music with you.
Let's do
and
it.
talk about life and love and sadness and hiding under rocks and everything. But tell me a little bit about just your beginning with music. Like, I know you've been making YouTube videos at least for 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's what's
crazy.
That's what's so cool about you, because I think some people in the creator world, I think sometimes people look at someone that has a lot of followers and success and fans or whatever, and it's easy to get jealous, right? Mm-hmm. And it's easy to be because you have almost 3 million subscribers on YouTube. That's crazy.
It's a blessing for sure.
Yeah, it's so cool. But I loved it looking deep into your content. I was like, Ysabelle's just been grinding for years.
Oh, thanks.
You know? It wasn't just, even though it looks like some of your first videos popped off really quick and you had some early success and some luck,
mm-hmm.
but you've just been on the grind for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Kind of. It's really hard for me to notice that it was a grind.
Yeah.
Because it's
you're just doing it.
I was just doing it and it was just really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I worked really hard because
right.
it is exhausting after doing it for so long. But I just enjoyed it so much. It just felt like a natural part of my day, like a part of my life.
Yeah. Have you found a good balance of, because when you start to gain a big following, you could spend your whole day responding to comments and interacting with fans and checking notifications on TikTok and YouTube and Spotify. Have you, since you've been doing it so long, do you feel like you've found a good balance of how invested or engaged you are in that side of things?
I feel like it's constantly trying. I'm constantly trying to find a balance.
Yeah.
And it never really, I don't think I stay consistent in that balance.
You'll just kind of blitz.
Yeah.
And then hide.
Yeah. I feel like I have some fans that have been with me since the beginning and have created a fandom in the Philippines. So every time I go to the Philippines, we have our fan meets and we would just spend hours with each other. And then I try to respond to comments and DMs that people send. But I realize that if I spend too much time doing that, I go into this spiral of just constantly doing that. It's, to the point where I wake up and I check my Instagram as soon as I wake up and I feel terrible immediately.
Right.
For the rest of the day. So I've had seasons of being super, super active and then be I'll just fall off the face of the earth for months. Yeah. And then I would come back, and I'm trying to be kinder to myself during that process and think that, okay, this is a natural thing that happens with you're not meant to be on social media that much.
Right. And it's easy, I think, to tell yourself well, this is part of growing my fan base, and this is part of keeping people engaged in my work. And so it is a productive thing,
right?
Because it helps your following, but it can kind of be this vortex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to I'm constantly trying to find that balance and trying to be like kind, because like you can get into this mindset of like, okay, if I actually kept going the entire time, I feel like I could be like my audience could be way bigger than it is now, and I can't just, you know, regret is like a very dangerous thing to be settling in. So most of the time I'm just like, okay, no, I'm meeting myself here. I'm right here, and this is where I'm meant to be. And
you shouldn't feel guilty for like not responding,
right?
You know, because I don't know, as an artist and a creator, like any like communication you have with your fans, I think is a blessing for them, and like is a bonus, because most people never get to talk to the musicians they love, you know. But like I've found, even I'm like not even on your same atmosphere, but like I'm trying to grow my stuff, and I'm finding that you have to be careful, because sometimes when you respond to somebody, they respond back, and then you're like, well, now it's kind of rude to not respond to their response. But then you're like, I can't just carry on dozens of conversations with people. Or like if somebody sends you a nice DM that's like really long, you're like, I don't have time to have like a heartfelt response to 15 of these today.
Right.
I can maybe do one, and maybe just heart the other ones.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a balance, because sometimes you get these really loving, meaningful messages and you want to respond, but you're like, I can't have this like take over my creative time or my personal time. Like you have to find a balance.
Yeah. And I think it's less of like, oh, I don't want to be rude, or I don't want to be perceived this way. Like it's more like I want to be grateful for this like opportunity. And that's like what is, you know, messing with my head sometimes, where like, you know, like kind of letting go of your boundaries is not showing gratitude or is not showing love to the people. It's the opposite of it. So I'm trying to like to be grateful and understand that there are boundaries that that exist in that gratitude. Right. And I feel like so far, like the people who have appreciated my music and I have engaged with, like, are so like just genuinely like, I just like your music. That they're okay with that so far. Oh, sorry, I just spat.
You're good. It's part of the podcast.
But yeah,
and we will not edit that out.
Oh, please edit it out. Gosh, we don't need that.
Tell me a little bit about what it's like, because you are kind of famous, especially when you go to the Philippines, right? Like, I mean, you have a really big following there, and you know you have a big following here too. But like you said, you have like fan meetups and stuff there. Is it kind of weird going back and forth, just feeling kind of like, oh, I'm kind of a big star here and here, like I'm the same artist, but not as many people know me? Is it kind of weird going back and forth?
It is pretty weird. There's like pros and cons for sure.
Yeah.
But I never really felt like a big star. Like I feel like in the earlier days, I definitely was, people knew me more in the earlier days, but like now that I'm kind of like shifting to the original music and kind of like starting over, I don't feel that as much. So I just want to preface it with like,
because early you were like big into covers and like K-pop stuff, right? And so you got maybe a little bit of a cult following with
that you know, that from K-pop. And so I thought it was really cool. Like when I first went back to the Philippines after living here for so long, I went back to like, you know, sign with the label and meet the fans that I was talking about. Like I would have, like, people would stop me at the grocery store and they'd be like, oh my goodness, I listened to your stuff. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I was feel weirded out in the beginning, because like I was like, it was always like, oh, you're talking to the wrong person. Like maybe you just thought I was this person, but they would like say the song that they liked, and I thought we would fangirl together. I'm just like, oh my gosh, you listened to my music. So it was always pretty cool, like, to know that people were listening. Yeah. Because whenever I'm here and I just see the numbers, like, it's just like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Like people respond to it.
Right. But it feels abstract.
It feels abstract, yeah. So when I go to the Philippines and it actually feels good, like, I mean, and people still like kind of like say hi at grocery stores or random places, and people still go to shows when I go to the Philippines. It like is this super heartwarming experience of like, oh, like people listen, like my music matters to someone, you know? And someone else outside of myself, and it's pretty cool to experience that. I think my favorite part about music is connecting to people. I think even outside of singing, like it is the fact that like, okay, when I go up on stage and I sing a line I wrote, especially, and people, you can see people in the audience like have like this physical reaction to it, or like this switch, you know, in the way they look at you, and like, oh my gosh, I feel heard on their end, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, we're connecting. And it's I think that's the human connection of music and performing has always been my favorite part. So it's good that I see that when I'm there. And then when I come here and I go back to my day job, you know, it's kind of, for the longest time I've like been grateful that it is the way it is, because I never really put that much pressure into the music. Like I never like made music my entire career. Even though I want to do that now. Because I had this other life here. Right. And I was able to kind of like be humbled by that whole experience. I feel like it helped with not
getting a big head.
Getting a big head, or like me not getting in my head all the time, because I could switch. I could kind of lean back into this.
And you started getting a big following when you were what, like 16 or 17 or something?
Yeah, I think I was 18 when I started my YouTube channel. It was pretty early, but yeah, it's nice because I could just come back and be anonymous, or not anonymous, like but yeah, it was a cool, I just felt like it was like a blessing that I get to partake in every so often.
Yeah, that's cool. How often do you go to the Philippines?
I've been going 2 to 3 times a year, like the past couple years, and then outside of COVID, but like once a year at least, I would go.
Do you have a big fan base in Korea then?
I not super big. It's probably like
K-pop's just so big in the Philippines.
K-pop is just really big in the Philippines.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, especially I think it's more international, because most of the content I did before was English translations of K-pop songs. Okay, so it was for the international fans like me. So yeah, mostly everywhere else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah.
What is do you have like a lyric that you've written that is the thing you're like the most proud of, or that like means the most to you?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think so far my favorite lyric was like the chorus of no, I think the entire song I really like, not to toot my own horn, but but I have a song called Drown. And
look,
what?
Favorite song, Drown. It's my favorite song of yours.
No way.
Yeah.
Thanks, Taylor. I think it is my favorite because it was like the most like vulnerable I've ever gotten in a song. I mean, you know me, I'm always just like, oh my gosh, so happy, where are we going next, you know? Like joking about all the time. But that song was like the first time I truly like faced like what I was uncomfortable with myself, like what I hated about myself almost. And I think it was like the verse, and then the pre-chorus is just like, now there's a stranger trapped in my own skin, like dress me up in your clothes, build me up to your mold, am I making you proud? Feel me stretching so thin, one more pull to cave in, so I won't make a sound, like fighting the waves while I'm slowly sinking, holding the weight of your crown, but I don't want to let you down, so I'll let myself drown. It's so emo.
Yeah.
But it was just like,
So what were you going through when you wrote that?
I feel like it was the accumulation of everything up to that point. I wrote it with a friend called his name's Michael.
Mm-hmm.
MYKYL, if you guys want to go check him out. And it was like this, I was always a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a very collectivist culture
mm-hmm.
that valued what you were doing, like for the community or for the family, and for
not as individualistic.
Not as individualistic, for sure. So it was like, it was like for the family.
Yeah.
And so I was always like, I feel like that and the combination of me being like naturally an anxious kid,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like the eldest of 5, and like all of those things that I thought were my identifiers,
mm-hmm.
Kind of contributed to me wanting to please everybody all the time, and wanting to feel like people can be proud of me, or like wanting to be this person that doesn't make mistakes, or because I, kind of like I sought validation outside of myself all the time,
mm-hmm.
because it was so like that was the only way I felt good, like or I felt seen. So I think Drown was like and my parents are great. My parents are such loving people.
Yeah.
And it was like my perception of them was so like, I need you to be proud of me.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
Right.
So I'm going to do this because I think this is what you would want from me.
Yeah.
Or like in relationships, mm-hmm. where I feel like I'm not being fully authentic anymore, but I don't want to lose them, or I don't want them to be uncomfortable. So I'll just make sure you're comfortable while I'll work through it, and then right. But are you comfortable? Type of thing. So I never loved inconveniencing people.
Yeah.
Or even feeling like I'm inconveniencing anybody or taking up space in the room.
Right. Yeah. So now in relationships, what do you feel like you need the most to feel truly seen as like your authentic self?
I'm practicing the mindset of like not needing anybody else in that scene. Like even in a relationship, like I'm noticing that it is more important that I have like that I see myself like in the situation, that I feel like I see myself, I see my needs, and I see where my discomfort's happening, or where I don't know where I'm at in order to be in a relationship, I feel like. Or I'm trying not to like depend on other people anymore to see me.
Right.
Like
yeah.
Like, and I feel like I feel the most seen, like just from what my relationships have been telling me, when I'm not as aware of how they are perceiving me, or like when you're not seeking their validation, or when I'm not as like demanding or like needing things from them.
Yeah.
And I feel like I just, I flourish in that that space, and I love getting to know myself that way. But Drown, but you that's like a very, like in the Philippines we call it OA. OA mo is what we say. It's like you're overreacting, That's like that's too much. Like, but sometimes it could feel like that. It could feel like you are drowning.
Is Filipino culture, like I just don't know it well enough.
Oh, no
worries.
I'm here to educate you.
Right. Are they an especially like open and vulnerable culture, or no, not really?
Not at all.
So is that something that you've had to work on, or is that something that just your personality, you're kind of, I just feel like you're good at being raw, even if there's some insecurity or some lack of confidence, like you're good at just being raw, being yourself.
Oh, you think so?
I think so.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Did Thank you for the nice comment.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be like, okay, I'm not needing your external validation, Taylor. But
just take it.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Take it. Wrap it in a nice bow,
Right.
and then I'll open it the next time I need some.
Okay, good.
Some encouragement in life.
Yeah.
It's definitely not an open, generally not a super open culture. I feel like it shifted when we moved to the US.
Mm-hmm.
My youngest brother was my 2 and 3 years old. My youngest two brothers. And we moved here, and we were raised in the Filipino culture, like the older 3 siblings, and they were going to be raised here.
Mm-hmm.
And they started going to school, and they started to like learn things from people here.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just started coming home and like being like super open and vulnerable. They would always just be like, thank you for the meal, thank you for this, I love you.
Right.
You know, I love you so much, thank you for doing, you know, everything that my parents would do, like, thank you for opening the car, I love you so much, you know. And it was like my parents were like, what?
What are these kids' deals?
And we did say I love you. And I've hugged my parents before up to this point, but like it was like a conscious. I remember having this conversation with my parents during that time where it's like, we have to like change this.
Yeah.
We have to like
assimilate.
Yeah, like we have to learn like the better way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like because your brothers need this.
Yeah.
You know, they need to know that, you know, that it's reciprocated. Like for us growing up, it was always just assumed, okay, my parents love me because they do this, and this. But it was always like, it was a conscious effort to be like, okay, when we're on the dinner table, we thank the people who made the food, or like you respond to your little brothers that way, or, you know, because it was something that we didn't do. And we realized it was like something that people, like children, need to like feel seen and feel valued. And so it was a conscious effort to shift to like a more open, vulnerable way of communicating. And I feel like when I became an adult, and it was only when I became an adult that I had like a closer relationship with my parents. There's something that happens when you become an adult with your parents, that you kind of like see things like the way they do a little bit more, or like you just develop a little bit more empathy. Yeah,
they become more real.
Yeah.
And they become more like, because as an adult you start to realize, oh, like I can feel depressed about things, or like I can really struggle with my emotions. And my parents, like, they were just trying to like feed us and like make sure we stay alive.
Yeah.
But they had those emotions too.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you don't think about like, I wonder what my dad's feeling about like his job.
Yeah.
You know, you're just like, I don't know, dad's at work.
Yeah.
You know?
And just like the superhero that's just like, you're good, dad, you know? But you get to, and I feel like the more I grew, the more like vulnerable my parents were okay with being with me.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool. And just sometimes I think about like how Heavenly Father is like that. Like I feel like I understand God better because I see my parents better.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's the best like analogy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or it's like you give yourself like more grace, or allow him to like give you grace. Because you know, like that love isn't, you don't need to earn it, or like
it's unconditional.
And it's, especially with my parents, like it came from a place of like sacrifices.
Right.
There's so many things that, you know, like I don't know, my mom sacrificed being like a career that she wanted to choose for the sake of, you know, like bettering our family. Or she left for, when my brother was like born, my youngest brother, at like 3 months, she moved, like she worked in the Middle East to provide for us.
Oh wow.
And it was like 2 years of like essentially not seeing my youngest brother or grow up, because she had to.
Yeah.
We would have starved otherwise, you know? And seeing like her go through that and like only now be able to pursue careers that she wants. Like she just got her master's and she was like, cool. I've always wanted to finish that.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. I didn't have the time to. It was so like, it's just really cool to like know like how much had to happen for them to like love that way.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy when you start to grasp like real unconditional love, because especially when you're like dating and searching for love yourself, it's hard to feel like it's real sometimes, because you're like, all my failed relationships, apparently they weren't unconditional, you know, because, you know, whatever happened, they decided they don't love me anymore, you know, but with your parents, or, you know, sometimes really close friends or other relatives, you're like, there's nothing that could happen that would affect this love. Right. And it's so powerful. And hopefully that's what you desire to have with your partner and with your kids. And I mean, in a perfect world, you have that for everyone in your life.
Yeah.
You know,
that's hard to practice.
Yeah. It's really hard to practice.
Yeah. Especially when I think I grew up thinking that love was something you earned. Like it's Mina, you know Mina, right?
Yeah.
She was the one who said that in Hebrew, when you look at the Hebrew meaning of worthy, it just means seen. It doesn't mean like everything else we've associated with worthiness of like earning or like being qualified for certain things.
Yeah.
It just means seen.
Right.
And I was like, what in the world? It blew my mind because I was over here living 27 years of my life thinking that I had to be a certain way, or I had to
thinking you needed to have high worth.
Yeah.
You need to be
worthy of something. To be worthy of being in the room with you, or to be worthy of your attention. Yeah. So yeah, it's hard, especially I feel like some part of church, you don't have to put this in. Like part of church culture can be seen as that, can be like misconstrued as that. Like even though gospel doesn't actually say that, it's like, and as a culture, sometimes we are like, it's easier to know what to do, I feel like, when there are bullet points. Sure. To get there, when you feel like there are bullet points to get there. So it's, you know, this is how to be Christian. Right. You have to read your scriptures. You have to go to church. You have to do all of these things for sure. But like, there's not a tick, like, what do you call it? Is it a tick?
Checkbox?
Yeah. There's not a checklist to get to heaven.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, wow.
Right.
I could just like try my best to be like Christ. Right. And I still have a chance, you know?
Yeah, just as good as anyone else.
As good as anyone else. But yeah, like learning that love, like true love, is unconditional is something that I'm struggling with. Yeah. But I know that starts with myself. Like
to love yourself
unconditionally.
So how do you do that? What's a good way to practice loving yourself unconditionally, you think?
So now you tell me, Taylor.
I'll give you my opinion.
Okay. I think I feel like I've been practicing to meet myself where I am. Like exactly where I am.
Yeah. And not worry about future Ysabelle.
Yeah. Or being kind to like where I am and where I was. And knowing that this is who I'm working with. Yeah. Like kind of I don't know, like being kinder to yourself and knowing, I don't know, like I've seen so many like people say things about like knowing how to parent your inner child. Yeah. and knowing how to take care of your inner child. Like, I think that's where I feel like unconditional love could come from, when you know that you're not just speaking to the person in the mirror, you're also speaking to the person, like the child.
Every version of that
that person. And like I could just, you know, whenever I feel like being harsh on myself, or whenever I feel like calling myself negative things, I just like look at myself in the mirror and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like 7-year-old Ysabelle who cries before exams is there.
Right.
Like, you need to like be careful because she's listening.
Yeah.
And she's, you know, she's internalizing a lot of these things, and I don't think she deserves that. So you should, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's how I am trying to find, you know, practice unconditional love.
Yeah, that's
What do you
really
think?
good. I think I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about my inner child, but I like that. I like that idea, to kind of be tender to your inner child and every version of yourself, right? But for me, I think my main thought with trying to love myself unconditionally is like, take somebody that I do love unconditionally easily, my mom, my dad, my sisters, my niece and nephews, my best friends. That love is so, like, when one of them does something stupid or annoying, it doesn't affect my love at all. It just makes me think, oh, that was stupid or annoying, right? The love doesn't change at all. You know, if there's a love-o-meter, it doesn't move a single tick, right? If anything, I love them more because I see them more. I see their weaknesses. I see their whole being. But so with them, I would never like talk down to them and tell them like how stupid they are, or how like lazy they are, or how inefficient or ugly they are. But with myself, it's so easy to be like, dude, you are so lazy. Like, you've done nothing today. Where it's like, how about I just love myself and say, hey, you could have worked harder today. Let's work harder tomorrow, or whatever the case is. And just, love yourself like you love anybody else that you love like crazy.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done, you know?
Yeah. I could see that. It's very tangible, like, you know, to see, like, it's harder to see like your inner child sometimes, but it's easier to see the people you love, like, who are outside of you, and easy to see how hurtful that could be to like a 7-year-old who's like, I'm just trying my best,
right.
you know.
Right.
That's powerful.
Yeah, but I think the more grace you give yourself, the more grace you end up giving other people, and vice versa. Like, when you give everyone around you endless grace, I think it's easier to give yourself grace.
Yeah. I've noticed also that, like, when I'm not in a state of loving myself, when I'm in a state of like being just super critical, you tend to project that onto the people around you, onto the people you love even. And you inadvertently like hurt them in the process, and just like, so it is powerful, like the way you see yourself. Because it bleeds into your relationships, and it's
and people can tell. I don't know. I think people that really love themselves, there's kind of a light about them, and people can sense it. And sometimes it comes across as confidence, or it comes across as that person's just so secure with themselves. But I think it's visible. Like, I think you can tell when people are struggling to love themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think I grew up in a culture that also, like, you know, I think it's like the lack of individualism also, where it's like both, not like, I mean, owning your accomplishments have always been kind of like seen as, oh, you're being too prideful. You're being like, okay, you don't have to like say that or whatever. And it wasn't until I moved here that I noticed like how okay it was to
congratulate yourself.
Yeah. like in job interviews or like with people, like when I was in high school, it was just like people who were like, oh yeah, I did so good. That was a 3 point, 3 points, you know. I don't listen. I don't watch sports, so I don't know how to properly say it, but
I got 3 points.
I got 3 points, touchdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like so interesting because in the beginning I was like, why are you being so prideful? You're so, you know, like you're such a prideful person. But it really wasn't. It was just like people celebrating wins, you know? You just celebrate W's all around.
Right.
And it was like really refreshing to see that. But it was really hard to like get out of that mindset like switch from that too. I remember like starting out on YouTube and like people would be like, oh my gosh, you're so good, like your voice sounds really good, and I would like automatically respond with, oh no, I just that wasn't, you know, I actually had a I actually had a cold that day, I messed this up, or it was like my tendency was to kind of like make it small, make the accomplishment small, because I felt like I was being humble. But it really was the opposite. It was like, I think there's pride attached to wanting to.
Yeah, I can't remember how he says it exactly, but John Bellion, he has this lyric about it where he says, humility is like a corny form of arrogance. Like the humility where you're like, you can't take a compliment. You can't like congratulate yourself. It's always just like, no, I got lucky, or like I look good because the lighting's so good, or you know, like you're just always deflecting. Like it kind of can come across as arrogant in some ways.
And I didn't realize that for the longest time, and I think that's one of the things that I've seen, like especially in the music career part of things, is what stopped me from growing or like progressing. I feel like for the longest time, because I was always like, whenever something good would happen, or like there's so many like tender mercies that have happened during YouTube, or doing like singing for artists that I really looked up to, and playing big arenas, and coming back to this life, in, you know, the double life, the Hannah Montana life, and like going like, oh, that was so cool, what a blessing, that was a dream, and saying like, oh yeah, but that was cool, that was like a one-off moment,
right? I was lucky,
I got lucky, like, oh, great luck to have stumbled upon that artist during that time, or doing that video at the right moment, or whatever. And I would always like minimize it as I got lucky. So I don't think it like ever motivated me long term enough to like keep pushing or keep going. Because
you're like, I just keep getting lucky, I don't know what it is. And it kind of like, I think I washed my hands off of accountability or like responsibility of my own life, like that I can, like I'm in charge of my own life, or the trajectory of my career, as long as I work hard, you know, and do all these things. I feel like I wasn't able to do that because I just dismissed everything. You were kind of mislabeling everything. It's funny. I do think it's kind of a cheesy aphorism, but people always say like the harder you work, the luckier you get. You know, but I think it's true. Like things feel like luck when they're kind of random or unexpected, but it's like more things like that come about when you're working hard, because just opportunities arise, and when you're not used to them coming about, it can feel like, oh, I'm just getting lucky here. But especially like in the arts, like your stuff is just always going to go like this. Like you'll have moments where songs are going crazy, or you're selling really well, people are consuming your art, and then you have stuff that's just as good or better, but it just flops for whatever reason. And if you contribute it all to luck, I think it's easy to give up, because you're like, well, my luck's run dry. Like I'm not lucky anymore. You know, but if you just focus on your art and working hard, like, I don't know, the results will come, but they just don't matter as much because you're invested in your art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not caring about the result is like, I feel like really hard for creatives. I feel like, because this is very like pessimistic to think, but I'm sure like every creative as to some degree needs validation.
Oh,
like, you know, that's why
we're creative.
That's why we're creative, you know, like, Mom, look at this picture I drew. You know? So that's really hard to practice. And also the fact that like once you make creativity a career or like something that provides for you a little bit, it's personal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're like, okay, if this song didn't do very well, it means people hated it.
Yeah.
And it
therefore hated me.
yeah, it's directly correlated.
Yeah, it's hard to just like, you know, it's not like an office job where you can come home and like dissociate from it and know that it's not attached to who you are as a person, as opposed to just like the skills you have.
Yeah. Like
it's hard to like do that because this is you. Like this is my art. These are my feelings. So yeah, I think it's just something that you have to constantly be like aware that you were doing. Yeah. Which is hard.
Have you ever struggled with just I don't know, dealing with just like internet trolls? Since, you know, just because YouTube is a cesspool for trolls, you know, and even myself, I'm like, hey guys, my content is pretty like, it's not very, especially controversial. Like it's not, I feel like it's pretty neutral, but like still people will come in and just spread hate as much as they possibly can. Has that been something that you ever had a period that was really hard for you, or have you been good at just being like, well, that's just some bozo on the internet?
There are moments when I'm not like actively taking care of myself, like mentally, or like
when you're in a bad spot.
Time when I'm in a bad spot, like it does get to me, like especially if videos go viral and like one time a hate video went viral and I was like, oh wow, that's so great.
Were they just making fun of a song?
They were making fun of my accent.
Okay.
So I was singing in Tagalog and I guess I was singing in Tagalog. I wasn't enunciating. Your
Tagalog was kind of Americanized?
Yeah. Okay. It was like cursive. They were like, why is she singing in cursive? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And that like tripped.
Yeah, because that's a big part of your identity.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, am I not Filipino enough? Am I not American enough? Or, you know, it's always like, I'm not enough of this or that. And, you know, my sense of worth is like a trigger for me. And it's like, okay. So I stopped doing videos for months.
Oh, really?
And I stopped doing Tagalog songs. Like, ever. like for at least like 8-10 months or whatever. And it kind of, it messed with my brain. And the first time when I first started YouTube, the first hate comment I had was like, oh, I didn't know she was a girl until she opened her mouth. And I was like, oh, nice.
We'll start this episode, Ysabelle the girl, just so it's clear.
I am a girl.
Yeah.
Biologically.
Yeah.
And it like messed with my head, but I was so excited about starting music, like actually doing music, that I was like, okay, what can I do to fix it?
Right.
So I learned how to do makeup. I learned how to like film it with better lighting. And so I think for the most part now, like the hate comments or like the trolls are like, okay, what can I do to be better at this?
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like knowing how to like light things better, or like or enunciate. I mean, trying to like categorize like criticism as constructive or just people with too much time on their hands. You know, so it's for the most part it's helped me be better.
You know what I've found? So I had a video go viral recently, and it's mostly my guest talking. He's talking about his like journey with addiction and recovery, and he's telling this wild story, and the comments are all over the place. People are going wild.
Wow.
And it's funny, a lot of the really hateful comments I've responded to and said like something like, oh wow, like I could see how you think that, but I disagree, and but thanks for sharing your thoughts or whatever. And it's crazy how many of those people will kind of backtrack and be like, oh yeah, no, like I get it, like my bad. Like people are just so reactive and emotional on the internet that you can't take it that personal.
And you kind of like, they kind of expect you to,
they want to fight.
Yeah,
they want to debate. They want back and forth. So yeah.
Is that like the kill him with kindness tactic?
Or like somebody will say something really mean and I'll just like comment like a smiling emoji.
I love that.
Because that's honestly just probably going to piss them off.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, okay, well.
Because how do you respond to that? Yeah. A frowny face?
Or like the tongue sticking out. Or like, yeah, you're right. I want to practice that. How do you do that, Taylor?
I mean, I just think to myself like, okay, these guys, nobody here knows me. Like if all my friends were like saying hateful things in the comments, I'd be like, I really need to reconsider my life, you know? But these are just strangers that are probably doing that on lots of accounts, you know? And so I've found I'm like, I already struggle with negative emotion. I can't let any more in. And so if somebody's coming at me with negative emotion, especially on the internet, it's so easy to not engage or to dispel. I'm like, I'm not giving them an inch to like affect my day.
Right.
So even if I have like a really good comeback, I'm usually like,
nice.
you know? And so, but I also want them, like, I want people to know in my content, like, my comment section is not a place for hate. So you're either going to turn it around or you're getting deleted and blocked.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna sit here and go back and forth with somebody who just has negativity to spread.
Yeah.
But that's how I am in real life too. Like if somebody has really negative energy and they always want to argue and stuff, I don't engage. I'm not interested because I have enough trouble being happy and staying happy and finding joy in life. Yeah. That I can't handle someone that every time I see them, it's something else. It's drama. It's negativity. Yeah. You know, I don't have the bandwidth for it.
Yeah. I feel like you work so hard to maintain that peace or like to like nurture your garden in that area. Yeah. In that sense, like nurture your garden just for somebody to come in and
stomp around my garden.
Around your garden. Yeah. It's respectful. Like, okay, your garden looks really nice over there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I really like that analogy.
Yeah,
like,
I just don't need you in mine right now.
Right. You better tiptoe around my garden.
Tiptoe around my garden. Those are really new roses, okay?
Yeah.
Like, I just spent the entire winter.
Yeah, seriously.
And it's not, like, disrespectful. It's not, I have a hard time, like creating the fences around my garden.
Boundaries,
or keeping the boundaries.
Is that just because you've come from a long life of people pleasing?
I think so. Yeah. I think
you don't want to offend somebody with your fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, people pleasing and like, I mean, you notice like people pleasing is mostly for me, you know? Yeah. It's not really like, well, sometimes it is like, you know, you care about people so much and you care about their well-being.
But you're doing it for your own peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the most part, that's
because you don't want to ruffle feathers. Yeah.
You're like the mediator of the family or the but yeah, I have a hard time like creating boundaries and keeping them because I feel like I've yet to like work on like getting to know myself that deeply. Or like what are the things that you hold valuable and like what are your core beliefs and what are your non-negotiables or like I feel like I'm also still learning how to love people better.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm not effectively loving them if I can't show them where my boundaries are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. What do you think is the best way for yourself personally that you can show people you love them?
I feel like showing up for people, for people you love is so powerful, even if it's like, even if you don't want me to talk.
Yeah, just being there.
Yeah, even if, what do you want?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want? How do you want to feel loved today?
Yeah.
And
not projecting how you would want to be loved necessarily. Yeah.
And I've like, before I've like feel like I've grown resentful towards like, not resentful. Resentful is like a strong word.
Yeah.
But like you grow resentful towards people when you're like, okay, why aren't you feeling my love? Like,
yeah, I'm giving it to you.
I'm giving it.
Yeah.
Like 100% right now. Like, I'm getting exhausted doing it.
Yeah.
But if, it's not the way they feel loved,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, it goes nowhere. Like
right.
It's
a nice gesture maybe, but it's not. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I appreciate it, but so yeah, I've been learning to like ask like how people want to feel loved, or how people want me to be present, want me to show up for them.
Yeah, it's the ministry of presence.
Yeah. What's that?
I think you minister to people just by being there. And it's not like, and I think when you're just there, they usually show you how they want to be loved. And so I don't think you need to go overly prepared, like how do I love this person? Maybe I don't know them like that yet, but let me just show up, let me be a minister of presence. And then if they need to vent, they'll probably start venting, and I'll realize that's what they need, right? Or if they are asking things and they want validation and affirmation, they'll probably start doing that. Instead of going in with an agenda yourself, saying like, I'm going to go love this person this way. Just go be present. Just go be with them. And then I feel like they usually show you how they need to be loved. But
that's true.
But I like that, like literally just asking, like, how do you?
Yeah. I feel like I have social, what's it called? I'm not very good in taking up social cues, like understanding social cues.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in my head a lot about being in social situations, that I don't take social cues very well.
I don't get that vibe from you.
Really?
No.
I've practiced.
Yeah, okay, good.
I've done years of
Okay, so I'm seeing a polished version.
Yeah.
A
little shiny on the surface. But like, so that's why I started asking. I feel like is because I can't, like, I otherwise wouldn't know. Like, I wouldn't know, like, that you're having a hard time if I don't.
Okay, yeah.
Sometimes if I don't
it's not as easy for you to read the room.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I feel like it's equally as hard to accept when people don't want that presence, or like, when you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not take it personally when it's like, I just want to be alone right now.
Right.
Or
like, I struggle with that because for myself, when I'm sad or going through something, I don't want to be alone. That's where things get darker for me.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, I know I'm going to be alone at night. Like, I'll have time alone, right? When I go to the bathroom, like, I take a shower.
I'll work on that part too.
Yeah. But wouldn't kill somebody to go to the bathroom with me. But yeah, I want connection when I'm going through stuff. I want to be around people. I want to talk to my friends. I want to hash things out. And so when people are like, I just need some time, I'm like, why? Like, and not why, like, I get it.
Yeah.
But my brain chemistry is, you're going through something, let me be there with you.
Yeah.
Let me hold your hand through it. And some people just need some space and they need time alone, and that's how they regenerate. But that's how I degenerate. So it's hard. You can't be, you can't project what you think will work on people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, not take it personally every time. Yeah.
That's why I've struggled with sometimes when I'm dating a girl that's especially introverted, because I'm so extroverted that I'm like, well, I know I would love this, so why doesn't she love it? You know, but we're just so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's, you know, people with on the two different spectrums of the Bertness,
yeah.
ambivalence, ambivertness, I don't know, not English today.
Yeah.
You know, do you think there's a scenario where, like, because I feel like you only get to that point where you can converge into different places like that when you get to know the person, or when you build trust and when you build connection. And I like to my super optimistic mind, it could work, you know?
Yeah.
But like, do you think it could?
This is hard because I dated a girl for a while that was very introverted, and she wasn't shy. You know, I think a lot of people assume introversion equals you're shy. She just needed a lot of time to recharge her batteries, and she wasn't interested in hanging around a lot of people for very long and doing things every night. She needed alone time, and I don't need alone time. I'm fine. I'm good. You know. And but I, you know, I say that, but like I get it throughout the week. You know, I'm writing, I'm working on stuff. Like I have plenty of alone time. It's not like I'm miserable and can't handle it.
Yeah.
But I prefer being around people, especially when I love them, right?
Yeah.
So we had a tough time. Like, and it's funny, I actually talked to my buddy's mom is a therapist, and one night I was just like picking her brain. I was like, I'm going to get a full session in here.
For free.
That's right. She can bill me if she wants to, because she's awesome. But I was asking, I was like, is it too hard for an extreme extrovert to be with an extreme introvert? Does it put too much like weight on the relationship? Is it too strained because we're so different? And she's like, honestly, it's really difficult. Because you're such different personality types, and just your approach to things is so different. She's like, it can work, but it comes with extreme communication and extreme compromise, you know, because you can't just say like, well, extroversion is the correct way to do it, or vice versa, you know. You have to just respect that, wow, we're different, and my way of living isn't necessarily right or better, even though I kind of think it is.
Okay.
You know?
You can think that.
But, I mean, everyone thinks their way is kind of the better way.
That's true.
Yeah. So I do think it's possible, and with the right person, it's worth it. But I think it's difficult.
Yeah. Because, like, you have to, like, constantly be thinking about, okay, it could be the right person, but if in the process of pursuing that person, I put myself in a place where I don't feel comfortable, when I don't feel safe.
Yeah, you want to be comfortable all the time with your person.
Yeah. Sometimes discomfort is necessary to grow a relationship, for sure.
Yeah, but you want to feel fully you just want to feel fully yourself. Yeah. And comfy in your own skin, and not feeling like I need to act a different way because this person's here, or because they might not like the default setting of myself. You know, but like, I do think one thing that like me and this girl could have done better is just really, really, really open communication, because it felt like there was just always a little bit of resentment, because we'd go hang out for hours with a bunch of people, and she'd be kind of bugged that we stayed an extra hour, instead of just being like, hey, like, I'm about to tap out. Like, I gotta, you know? Right. And so she ended up being bugged. We stayed longer. I ended up being bugged that she didn't say anything. Right. And so I think if we really wanted to make it work, we could, but we would just need to communicate like a lot more, you know?
Yeah. Which is hard for like the introvert too, because, you know, I feel like you don't have a lot of practice to
and to
do that.
and that was part of the problem, is I was down and open to communicate about everything all the time. Yeah. And she's kind of like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how I feel. I don't know what to say. And so
Right.
I'm just like, okay.
That's hard because I feel like I have a hard time like not. I feel like this entire podcast I was just like, I have a hard time doing this
My whole
all
life
the
is
time.
just a hard
It's
time.
so hard. No, I'm so grateful. My life is so nice.
Yeah.
But it's like being okay that they're like it's hard, like it's hard to see their point of view or like to see where they're coming from for sure. And I get frustrated with like, oh, why don't you want to communicate?
Yeah.
You know, it's so easy. Like, you know, because for you know, extroverts or like people who have big feelings or, you know, it's like easy to just talk about it. But like coming from their point of view, where it's like kind of giving them grace in the, you don't, you know, because they could see it as too much. Or like, that's not something I could handle or I feel safe handling or, and again, it's like, oh, well, you don't love me if you don't want to do this. You know what I mean? And it's not that. It's
Well, that's one of the things that I immediately loved about you was even the other day, I ran into you, we hadn't talked in a bit, and I was giving you crap for not texting me back, right?
Sorry.
and you go, sorry, I've been depressed. But
not in the middle of me drinking water, Taylor.
But
Why are you calling me out like that?
But I love that response because there's some people that like you could be in a relationship with for 2 years and they wouldn't tell you they're depressed, you know? And so I love that your feelings are just right there, accessible and easy to communicate. And because it makes it easy and it's like, oh, okay, I know now. And maybe, you know, maybe you were joking or maybe it was more serious or less serious, but now I know, oh, if I'm feeling depressed, I know Ysabelle is somebody I can talk to.
Right.
You know, because it wasn't hard for her to say something like that.
Yeah, I feel like humor is my main coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dad. Yeah, I've struggled with knowing that it's okay to say, you know, to say what is on my heart all the time because sometimes it isn't. Like, you have to kind of pick who you can say.
Yeah, some people can't handle it.
Some people can't handle it. But at the same time,
but I struggle with those people.
I do. But at the same time, I've learned to like see it as like whatever I say or like whatever I confide in people about or feel comfortable like expressing in the moment, it is not my responsibility to direct the way they react to it. You know, once I've put it out there, like it's not out of my hands anymore, and it's not a reflection of who I am.
Right.
Like whether or not they can handle it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's not your responsibility.
Yeah, or the people's reaction isn't my responsibility, or it's not a reflection of our relationship either. Like, it's not. You know, like, I'm just like showing up as who I am, and sometimes I know that there's stuff about me that I need to work on. Yeah. For sure. It's not like, oh, this is who I am. Take me as I am. You know?
Yeah.
It's like I'm healing.
Right, but your feelings are just what they are.
Yeah.
So take those as they are.
Yeah. So it's good. I feel, for the most part, I feel sick because I feel it's also surrounding yourself with people who are kind and nurturing and like encouraging have also helped with being like that. I don't think I was always like that.
Yeah.
I feel like it helps that I have friends who are like, yeah, tell me more about that. Yeah. Like, what do you want to do? Or you know,
they're
what I
not
mean?
Just like, oh gosh.
Yeah. Like, can someone?
We call it a psych ward. Like,
someone has a therapist they want to share with this person. Yeah. So it's good to be surrounded by. I love being surrounded by people who are just so Christ-like.
Yeah. I think I struggle. Like, I remember my last breakup. Like, I have a hard time if I'm really in a bad spot and really going through something. I have a really hard time if someone's like, "Hey man, how you doing?" I have a hard time saying like, "Oh, everything's good." Like, I'm great. You know, I'm dying inside, you know? And so in those periods, I'm usually pretty honest. I try not to give people more information than they need, you know, or they deserve, frankly. But yeah, sometimes people will be like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And I'll be like, "Oh, it's been a rough freaking month or whatever." And you know, if it's a really close friend, maybe we really get into it. But yeah, I just have the hardest time, I don't know, giving a really canned, inauthentic response to a pretty innocuous question. You know, everyone asks how you're doing all the time.
Yeah.
But when I'm really going through it, I have a hard time hiding it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really good. I feel like it's like respectful towards yourself and the person asking to be authentic in your answer and not sugarcoat it, because you know, when you say that you're okay and this person's like, "Oh, I had the greatest day, blah blah blah, this is, you know, like, listen to my great day," you know, it's like, also I think it's respectful to say that I'm not doing well, because you allow this other person to show, like, you're allowing them to show up for you in that situation, and you're allowing yourself to like show up for this other person in the capacity that you can in that situation. And it's just like a cool relationship, because you're not fronting, or you're not pretending to be somebody else so that they can be more comfortable.
Are you good at taking help, receiving help?
I think maybe now. Maybe now.
It's another thing you've had to work on.
I think so. I think receiving help has been easier now that I have, like, you know, a lot more friendships that are very nurturing and very like, I'll take you as you are, you know. So it's I still don't like actively ask for it,
right?
But I had a friend recently say that, okay, if, you know, like, if they actually needed help, they'll ask,
right? And
I trust that in this friendship that we have, that you will ask when you need it. And that kind of like put me into like, oh yeah, I need to be.
It's a big assumption though.
It is.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like I'm trying to like learn to know that I am being a good friend by telling them when I need help. Yeah. And
because your close friends would love to help you.
Yeah.
You know, just like you, if you know a friend's really going through something, it means a lot to you to be able to help them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
you're really giving them a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here you go. Come help me. Take me out of this ditch. Let's go get boba.
Yeah.
You know, and because, you know, sometimes you're like, okay, I know I'm helping this. I'm actually being a good friend by not burdening them with this. I'm actually being a good friend by not. I know they're having a hard time, and they're going through this, and this, and they're super busy. So I'm not going to say anything. And that kind of like strips them from the opportunity to be a friend to you, and that's not very friendly of you to do. So.
Okay, we talked a little bit about this, but just kind of the idea of loving yourself unconditionally and practicing self-love. Let's take music out of the equation. What would you say you love the most about yourself?
That's too personal.
No, it's
I'm just kidding. I feel like we talked about this. I feel like I love that I, like, I think you said it, that I show up like with the feelings that I have in the moment.
Yeah.
And sometimes I know that they can be too big and they're not actually based in reality, you know, but I love that I can show up like myself. That's really hard to like do.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of years of work to be able to. And I love that I can love really deeply.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the longest time, I feel like I felt that that was a flaw.
Mm-hmm.
That I was
too needy or
too
something.
needy.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, that is true.
You can still be a little needy.
I can just be, a little needy. I can tone it down a bit,
Yeah.
but I love that I can love deeply.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of people really struggle to
to
love at all.
Yeah. I feel like I've had practice like loving so many good people in my life, and it's been a blessing to be around people who are so like lovable.
Yeah.
And I think music is something that kind of helped me do that a little bit more, because like I learned to love music as deeply as I do, and it's helped with seeing people like as like the same. I feel like, I don't know where this came from, but yesterday we were talking, on Sunday we were like in church, and we were just like, sometimes it's hard, especially when you don't like a person. And I was like trying to like say, well, the optimist in me was like, I try to think that the reason I don't like somebody, or like I don't like somebody, is because I don't know them enough.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so it is like in my control,
right?
Like whether or not
you like someone.
I like someone.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's pretty powerful. It's like taking back your power and not letting like any situation be like detrimental to your day, like you said.
Yeah.
I just don't know you enough.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like everyone has a cousin or a sibling or an old friend from high school that you're like, hey, I know they're tough, but like I just love the crap out of them, right? Because they've just, know them so well. You take the good with the bad. You're like, yeah, they have a lot of weaknesses that maybe I even struggle with, but they have so much good that I've seen over the years that they're in my life. I love them.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, when it's someone you barely know, you're like, I don't know any good about them.
Yeah.
So all I see is what annoys me, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a good point. You just need to get to know them better, probably.
Yeah. And it's within your power to like pursue a relationship with them still, like a friendship, or just keep it in that level, but yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know them enough.
I like that. I want to read this quote to you that I really like.
Okay.
I want to hear your thoughts. It's by Henry David Thoreau, and he says, "To affect the quality of the day, that is the highest of arts." And I love this as an artist, but also just a regular human civilian, thinking about the highest level of art is affecting the quality of the day. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. My initial thought was like, affecting as in with an A or with an E?
With an A.
With an A.
Yeah.
Oh, affecting. Yeah. I never know how to differentiate between those two.
We can talk about it off air.
See, I think, my flight of ideas or flight of thought.
Yeah.
I struggle a little bit with it. Is the highest form of art. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is how awesome it is to know how to romanticize your life.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, not so much as like make everything like,
like
live in the fantasy, but like romanticize.
Making it beautiful and special.
Yeah. Romanticize that you're the main character in your life. And there's so many things that's working right. But like romanticize even like the hard parts. And like, oh, I get to spend time with my friend today. That's so cool. And kind of see like, the art that is everywhere because you're starting to romanticize your life. And you're starting to see, I think you get to be a creative in that area when you know that you are the author of it, where it's like when you know that everything that happens in your day is well within your control, whether it's like just so far as to like how you react to it is within your control, then then it is beautiful.
Right.
Because I have all the power
Yeah.
in the world to make my day as beautiful as it can be.
Yeah. And I love the idea of making just a Thursday, like, how can I make this Thursday a work of art?
Mm-hmm.
How can I make this day an artistic endeavor? You
Mm-hmm.
know, like the same way you approach maybe writing a song, you want it to be meaningful. You want it to resonate with people. You want it to strike a chord. You want it to have some certain ineffable quality about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how your day should be.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's how you can show up.
Yeah.
With people around you too. It's like it's not like I feel like it's not an isolated experience. Like it's something that you can like bring to the people around you, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like when I romanticize my day, I'm just like, you know, when Belle walks around the town square, just like prancing around, dancing about, and I feel like I started doing that with my day, mm-hmm. where I show up to work singing in the break room or in the locker room and like walking out, like consciously being like, I'm gonna have a good day today.
Yeah, I'm in a good mood.
Yeah. I'm gonna walk out, and then, you know, I see people at the nurse's station and they're just like, oh my gosh, I hate this day already. Yeah. And I just walk out and just like, oh my goodness, what a beautiful day. You look really beautiful today. Yeah. Like, you know, like your hair looks so nice. Yeah. You know, and it like literally like brightens up. Yeah. The mood like automatically, and I didn't have to do much. It was just like, show up as this romanticized version of myself. Yeah. And I think, there's a lot of power that you bring into a room, and there's a lot of like comfort in that too. Mm-hmm. Where I can like make my day look nice and possibly like another person's, you know?
Yeah. I have a good friend who always says like, you affect other people's weather a lot, which I really like. You know, like you walk into a room, you bring with you some sunshine maybe, or you bring in a dark cloud, mm-hmm. or you bring in chaos, you bring in a tornado, you know? And sometimes, but yeah, he says that a lot, and I think about it a lot now. I'm like, I want to make sure, even if I'm going through something, that I walk into a room and I'm adding light, I'm adding sunshine, right? I'm adding, you know, brush strokes to a beautiful piece of art, right? Instead of, you know, negative stuff.
I love that. And it doesn't have to be like, because mixed media art is like beautiful too. Yeah. You know? Yeah. You don't have to bring the same experience mm-hmm. to the table. Like, I think that's, you know, you can bring your like printed out magazine strips on top of like acrylic. Yeah. You know, and I think that's, you know, it's really beautiful when people are coming together in different.
Yeah. And people bring light in really different ways. Yeah. You know, like, some people are just really warm, you know, they're really approachable, and people just feel, I don't know, there's a warmth about them. Mm-hmm. It's hard to explain. And some people are just really, really, really optimistic, mm-hmm. and some people are really complimentary, and it feels really genuine and earnest when they say it, mm-hmm. you know? And so I think everyone has unique gifts that they can bring to the table.
Right.
You know,
like different colors of light.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you look yellow. Like, yeah. Or orange. Yeah, like, yeah. Really, you know.
Yeah. So cool. Okay, just a few more questions and we'll wrap right up.
I could be here all night, Taylor.
Good.
We just gotta go get dinner after this. Good. Yeah. I'm hungry.
You owe us pizza.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Okay, if we could kind of turn the mics around and you're the host. What's a question you have for me, or multiple questions?
I would say, like, how do you, what practices do you like put in place to keep motivated, or like to
motivated, like artistically, spiritually,
I think
I feel like they're such different realms.
That's a lot. Yeah, you're right. Pretty general. Like with your passion, like I love what you're doing with the podcast, and I love that this is like you're so sure of like this is what I want. You know, this is something that I care about and I'm passionate about, and I'm gonna do everything I can to like to pursue it. And so, what are like the disciplines that?
For me, I don't think I'm naturally a deeply disciplined person. I like to watch TV and stay up late and be undisciplined. I'm really good at it. But when there's something I love and I'm passionate about, all of a sudden it's easy to be disciplined. Because I'm not thinking of it like a homework assignment or just something I need to get done. It's like, no, I need to prep for this episode because I'm excited about this episode. And I want my guest Ysabelle to feel like I've prepared and to feel like I'm excited to be here and I'm present with her. And I mean, there are parts of it that are a little more odious than others, but for the most part, I just enjoy pretty much every aspect of it. Like I like making the social media clips. I like finding guests. I love talking to the guests. I love like talking to my producer about lighting and sound and how we can make it better. And so I don't feel like I need a lot of, like I don't need to look inside and find motivation and discipline because I just love it. But yeah, there are lots of areas of life that I need to kind of, tighten up my shoes and be disciplined. But I just want, it's funny because I'll tell you what, like, cause I'm a writer as well, and with writing, I'm less disciplined, I would say, than with podcasting. And I think that's because it takes longer to get a finished product out. And so with a podcast, like I can see the results pretty quick. We'll do this episode, it'll be out in a week.
Right.
And then clips will be out the next day, whereas like I'm writing a book and it's taken me 3 years, so sometimes it's easy to be like, well, it doesn't really matter if I write today because it's still not going to be done for a year or so.
Right.
Do you ever feel like that with like music?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
because it's so fulfilling and wonderful when it comes out, but when you're in the process, sometimes you're like, it maybe doesn't matter if I lay down the track tonight because either way, it's not gonna be done for 6 months.
Right.
You ever feel like that?
For sure.
Yeah.
I started like dreading doing vocal recordings. I record my own vocals at home.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like when nobody else is keeping you accountable to with like the logistics part of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard. I enjoy writing music and I enjoy like collaborating with people. Sometimes like for me it's hard to like, I almost like dread when it's out a little bit because when it's out I'm just like, okay, people can now judge it.
Yeah.
Like it's not just mine anymore, but yeah, I get impatient with myself and with the way things are going, even though you just gotta kind of let it be.
Yeah.
That's like the only way to do it is just let it be and let it grow into whatever it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's hard still. I find it hard to be motivated through it when there's not that external validation of it being successful after.
Yeah. Do you feel more motivated if it's a song that for whatever reason you just are more passionate about? You love it more?
Sometimes, yeah.
Because I'm sure you have, especially in the past, you did more songs that maybe you enjoyed doing, but it was more like, this is what the people want to hear.
Yeah.
With your covers and K-pop and stuff. But with your originals now, I'm sure, and I know every song is not created equal. I'm sure if you put out a 6-song EP, there's 1 or 2 songs that really are special to you.
Yeah.
Those maybe, do you feel more motivated with those?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's not for the, like, because every time I re-listen to songs, I'm like, oh yeah, I love this song, you
Yeah.
know. So it's not so much as like the songs aren't good or like the songs aren't, I like don't love the songs. It's like the worlds I build in my head outside of the songs, you know, like what if it doesn't work out? What if it doesn't, you know, what if people don't like it?
Yeah.
Or what if, you know, even doing this for so long, it doesn't work, you know?
Yeah. What if 3 million people unsubscribe tomorrow?
Which, you know, very imposter syndrome because because clearly like people want to hear music. So it's a lot of like self-talk.
Yeah. Yeah, for
that's
sure.
stopping me from being motivated. So I procrastinate until
Yeah.
I have to do it.
Right.
And then it just ends up working out anyway. Like
Right.
whether it's like people listening or like I just love that it's out, or like me being proud of the product. It just works out anyway.
Yeah. And the cool thing about art is like sometimes you'll put out a song and it really doesn't budge your career any, but it helps you write the next song. It helps you evolve as an artist. And so it really has a huge impact on your career. It just doesn't feel like it because it's like this song
small,
this song isn't getting the streams I thought it would or whatever, but it's like you needed to put out that song for your artistic evolution.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And do you feel like certain ideas or thoughts or songs will kind of drive you crazy if you don't write them, if you don't get them out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel that way when you write?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, and that's when I know it's a good idea or something, because it won't leave my head. And so I'm like, in order for this to leave my head, I have to write it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite book is called Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear.
Okay.
And it talks about ideas being like sentient beings. Like there's just like sentient beings floating around the universe trying to find a business partner. And it's so like trying to find a business partner. And then they'll get to you and like present itself to you and be like, okay, I want to work with you on this. Like, could you help me be like, you know, come into fruition into the world? And when you're not ready, when you didn't like work on yourself and build the tools and like develop the skill sets to be, or like the discipline to make it happen, then they leave and they go to another creative and like try to, you know, and so I think it's cool that, you know, when I get ideas, sometimes I'm just like, oh wow, this idea trusted me enough to come to me. And or you know what I mean, where it's like I get excited and not feel burdened that it's like, you know what I mean, or like keeps you humble too. Yeah,
it's like this little gift that just fell from heaven.
Yeah.
And I've found, I think most people are like this, but I feel like if you don't write down the idea or do a voice memo or something almost immediately, there's a good chance it'll vanish.
Right.
You know, you have to kind of put it in a bottle when it arrives.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just like whether or not you have the space for it right now, you know?
Yeah.
Or like, okay, I'll start it now, but then I'll get back to it when. Sometimes it's even hard to get back to it.
Yeah.
Like if you like shelf an idea and you come back to it later on and you try to like, I've had songs that are like 8 versions in and you're like, no, it's not working anymore. It's okay to move on from it. I feel like.
And maybe you come back in 5 years and you're like, now I'm ready.
I can actually get this done now.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. Like
that is cool.
Like I think everybody's creative in a way, like, you know, every single person is creative, but like I think it's really cool and I feel blessed to be able to pursue it as deeply as we can in this sense.
That's awesome. Any other questions? This is your last chance.
Sorry, I'm trying to like okay, in your past relationships, okay, we're gonna go into the relationship realm of this, because I haven't been in many relationships. So I never know. I like to like pick people's brains on this. Have you ever like how did you practice like being secure in a relationship? Or like
That's tough because I think it's hard to do like while you're in it to decide, hey,
yeah.
I'm going to practice being secure, you know?
Yeah.
I think for me personally, I'm not trying to give this as advice necessarily, but for me personally, like, I think I was insecure in some of my earlier relationships because, just because I was generally insecure with myself. Like, it didn't have much to do with the relationship. I was just like, I almost felt fraudulent being there, you know? Like, okay, this girl seems like she likes me. She even says she does. Okay. But certainly she wouldn't if she like fully knew me or if she stuck around for 6 months. Right. And so, yeah, I'd be insecure because I'd be like, well, she's such a beautiful girl or whatever. Like, there's definitely other guys that would probably be better options, make more money than me, that are better looking, whatever. Certainly that have bigger biceps. And so
Who needs biceps?
Who needs them? They only do so much. But but I think as I got older and worked on myself more, I became just a very secure person. And so I realized, okay, if a girl is spending a lot of time with me and she's a beautiful girl that has lots of options, like, she must really like me because she picked me to spend time with. And so I'm not an idiot. I can tell how someone feels when they're around me, right? And so for me to be insecure and think like, oh, she's going to leave me or she's going to find somebody better or she's not going to be satisfied in this relationship, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of, it's almost delusional. Like, you know, people talk about being delusional in like overly optimistic ways a lot of times, but you can be negatively delusional,
Yeah.
you know? And so, yeah, like I remember my last relationship, even though it ended up not working out and she broke up with me, I was deeply secure while we were together because I was like, yeah, she's with me every day. Like, she has to be crazy about me, you know?
But how do you do that when they're not with you every day and there's not?
That's tough. Then I get insecure a little bit, maybe.
You know?
But you're talking about distance, right?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Yeah, distance is tough because, yeah, you don't have that validation every day.
Yeah.
I think for me, when I have that validation, like I'm seeing that person every day, I'm like, I'm as secure as can be.
Right. So are you actually secure if not, I'm not saying you, but like,
yeah.
Are you actually secure when that reminder or like that physical like conditioning is out of the picture?
Yeah.
And you're not, then was it actual security or was it just like validation that was like soothing?
Yeah. It's hard. I think the answers are different depending on the length of the relationship, you know? I think anybody in the beginning of a relationship is a little insecure because you're like, yeah, they like me right now, but it's only been a month. It's only been 4 months. And so they don't know all of me yet, right? But I don't know. I'm just of the opinion that like, I think I'm a catch, right?
Let's go.
I think I got a lot of stuff going for me, and I know my weaknesses. I'm more aware of them than anyone. But I think I'm a good option for a girl, and so even if she's out of the country for 3 months, or she's on some trip, or she's on a humanitarian thing for 6 months, whatever it is, if I feel like, I guess I'm secure that. Because I'm secure in myself, I'm secure in the fact that if she wants to, I'm a great option for her. But she has her agency. That's what's tough, right? Like, I still, like, even if she ends things with me, I still think I'm awesome.
Yeah.
You know? But I also know that people have preferences and people have really unique, specific desires for what they want in marriage and a life. And so, because I've ended things with girls that are amazing girls, that are beautiful and intelligent and spiritual and everything, but I just wanted something else, or I wanted a different connection. And so I think going through a lot of breakups over the years, I've realized like I'm fine if they end it, because I know I'm awesome.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll find somebody that wants my brand of awesomeness, you know.
I like that. My brand of awesomeness.
Yeah. Because they obviously think I'm awesome, or they wouldn't be spending time with me. But that doesn't mean they want me to be their husband and raise their children and live the life they want to live, you know? Because I've been with girls that I think really, really like me, but they can see that I want a different future than they do. And so it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to reconcile.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I'm any less awesome.
That's true.
Yeah. But
does that just like come with years of experience?
For me, it has. But I think I don't think like all wisdom has to take a really long time.
Yeah.
I think you can expedite some things. But yeah, I think it's just working on just loving the crap out of yourself. Because then you're like, okay, if somebody ends it with me, like, that's fine. They have their free agency, but like that doesn't affect how I feel about myself. Because if you have all your weight in like all your self-worth in a relationship, if it ends, what's going to happen? You know, you're broken, completely broken.
Right.
And so, I don't know, a relationship ending will still devastate me, but it won't take me out.
Completely. Yeah.
You know?
At all.
Yeah. Because I know where my self-worth lies, and it wasn't in that relationship, you know?
That's powerful.
Yeah. Well, Ysabelle, you're the best.
You're the best, brother. You're the best.
Okay, I'm the best.
Okay, you're the best. I'm also the best.
Yeah,
Thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, we're both the best.
See, I learned. I deflected your compliment at the beginning of this conversation, and now
And you took it back.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Are you going to perform a little song for us?
Sure.
What song are you going to sing?
I feel like you've heard this one. I wrote it a couple years back. It's called Waiting.
Okay.
But I haven't practiced, so we're gonna have to like go offline a little bit.
That's all good. Will you tell me a little bit about what this song means to you?
Yeah. So I think it was on my 25th birthday. I decided to go to the beach and like spend my entire birthday alone.
Oh no! My nightmare.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was so exciting. I was like, I'm gonna spend my day alone and think about where my, kind of like recalibrate.
Yeah.
With no one else's voices.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
Type of vibe.
I like it in theory.
In theory. Yeah, it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
You wouldn't like it for sure. But I was just on the beach, and I was just like at the point in life where it was like, I was getting tired of waiting. I was like, why isn't my life working out yet?
Yeah.
Why isn't my career working out? Why isn't my relationships work? Relationship romantically there was nothing working. And I was like, why am I still broke?
Yeah.
And I just remember like sitting there on the beach and like looking out into the ocean and like thinking about how beautiful it is to wait and what I can do while I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Or it's like, well, maybe the grace, maybe the blessing is during this time.
Yeah.
Maybe I've been so caught up in looking ahead that I haven't seen that this is where the beauty lies right now, or like the growth lies right now. And so it was just like a song of like comfort. Like I felt so comforted, like God was telling me that like it's okay. Like it's I'm here, I'm working.
Yeah.
And I need you to be kinder to yourself, and I need you to be kinder to me.
Yeah.
And trust that I have you.
Yeah.
You're not gonna fall. You're safe right where you are.
Yeah.
Just learn to dance through it, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Ysabelle, you're the best.
You're the best, Taylor.
Okay. All right. Also, I started doing a Patreon where every episode, a few days later, I do what's called an aftercast. And I basically just talk about the episode and the guest and kind of reflect after I've had some time to kind of think about some things. So stay tuned for the aftercast where I will talk a little bit about this episode, maybe a little bit more background on how I met Ysabelle, our friendship, whatever I feel like talking about. So go subscribe to the Patreon and you get more episodes. Thank you. Okay. Let's hear this song.
Reaching out to you has always been so easy. When all I ever knew was the light you shine above me. But the world grew loud, storms knocked me down. So I say a little prayer, hoping through the noise you hear. When I'm backing out, I close my eyes as the walls crash down on me. Then I'll sit in the tempest, learn to dance in the rain. If life throws me in oceans, I'll make friends with the waves. 'Cause you leave no heartache when you call my name. So I trust there's no such thing as waiting in vain. Reaching out to me, Father, I know it's not easy. I hear the fear and doubt, and the world says I'm not worthy. When all I can see is in front of me, and the miles that stretch are hazy, as if the pain could take me. Reach out your hand, 'cause you understand and you love me perfectly. So I'll sit in the tempest, learn to dance in the rain. If life throws me in oceans, I'll make friends with the waves. 'Cause you leave no heartache when you call my name. So I trust there's no such thing as waiting in vain. So I'll sit in the tempest, learn to dance in the rain. If life throws me in oceans, I'll make friends with the waves. Seeing one pair of footsteps, 'cause you carry the weight. Sometimes only the heartache can lead me to your grace. 'Cause you make no mistakes, and you know me by name. So I trust there's no such thing as waiting in vain.